round one. Fortuna in the yellow and black. His nickname El Abejon, which means bumblebee. Velasquez in the red with white trim. Fortuna won the title back in May, defeating Brian Vasquez. Felt he won the fight with his counter punching. And coming into that fight, Vasquez was off an impressive stoppage win over Sergio Thompson. His only loss prior to that bout was to the division titan Takeshi Uchiyama, considered the cream of the crop at 130 pounds.
Well, Fortuna is intending to beat a bumblebee tonight with his colors and also with his demeanor in the first round. He seems to be taunting Velasquez right now, but if this fight picks up from the weigh-in, we ought to have a barn burner.
And the day where Sports Illustrated honors the GOAT Muhammad Ali, and indeed, Fortuna's going to try to float like that butterfly and sting like his nickname, but Velasquez, who told us that he has worked on his patience, and as Paulie mentioned, as the key, he feels Fortuna's power will be a factor in the first half of the fight, but he wants to take him into deep waters. He sparred with undefeated 122-pound southpaw Jesse Magdaleno to prepare for this title fight.
Except for Fortuna to be successful, it needs to be.
Right. But that's what Velasquez hopes that he will fade.
Yeah. Fortuna landed a nice left hand over the top, and that shows our viewers that Velasquez is standing too straight up right now. And for Fortuna at his height to be able to get that distance on that left, and it was a lead left. So we need to pay attention to that as he's sacrificing his height right now. He needs to be down where Fortuna is and make Fortuna go through him and not under him and over him. Like
half of Fortuna's 20 knockouts have come in the first round.
Paulie Velasquez seems real tight right now, really tight.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest fight of his career. Well, Fortuna's not really being very active himself either.
No, he's not.
He's having some trouble closing that distance.
Velasquez's lone loss came against Rico Ramos. He dropped and dominated Ramos.
There's blood on the
through
shoulders.
9+ rounds, but then was stopped in the 10th and final round and knocked out in spectacular fashion.
Somebody's bleeding. There's blood all over the shorts.
Fortuna has a cut on the bridge of his nose.
Southpaw versus orthodox fighter. Imagine that. Some blood.
And there's a head clash.
And a head clash. So a rough and tumble affair here in round number one. Some grappling by Fortuna. Final seconds. Fortuna putting the pressure on Velasquez as they clinch along the ropes. So round one is scheduled for 12 for Fortuna's 130-pound championship. Round two, Fortuna started boxing at the age of 10, took up the sport in part because he left next door to 1984 Olympic boxing bronze medalist Pedro Julio Nolasco, and he followed in the footsteps of his older brother Jonathan Alexander Fortuna. Velasquez started at 12 as they definitely pick up the pace in round two and start swinging as the grappling continues along the ropes.
Velasquez came out and threw two nice right hands to the body and a left hook, and he has dropped down in his stance a little bit. He seems to be by initiating the action going forward. That's how you control offense.
Velasquez initiates the clinch.
That's the thing. Fortuna throws these weird loopy shots on the outside, but when you do that, you're going to end up sacrificing your ability to throw a combination.
Counter left hand landed by the champion Fortuna. A minute gone in the second round.
No.
Velasquez, a 2004 Puerto Rican Olympian. Famous Puerto Rican Olympians, of course, include Miguel Cotto, Wilfredo Gomez, John Molina, and Felix Verdejo, who's an up-and-coming Puerto Rican star. Fortuna, one of two Dominican Republican champions. Currently, one Carlos Payano, a bantamweight champ. As we near the midpoint of round two.
Oh, flash ahead there.
Stop. And another clinch. So a lot of grappling going on. Kind of action you might see on The Ultimate Fighter tomorrow night here on Fox Sports 1, but not the kind of action you want to see when these guys are going toe-to-toe on a Tuesday for the 130-pound championship. Good counter right hand by Velasquez.
Suéltalo, suéltalo, let go.
I'd like to see Velasquez bring a left hook off that right hand he's throwing down to the body. He's throwing it in the right area to bring a short left hook over the top if he uses it as a setup punch and not try to land it clean, but use it as a setup punch and come back with a short left hook over the top. Fortuna's wide open for it.
Yeah, nice left hook by Velasquez, too.
Oh, yeah. Velasquez gets dropped by Fortuna.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Vete para acá. Let's go.
More flash than fury, but let's see how it goes.
I was just going to say, you know, I hadn't really seen Fortuna land anything of note, and then he gets a knockdown.
Fortuna has scored 20 knockouts in his career, and again on the attack, but man, it is getting nasty in there with the orthodox southpaw dynamic and those head clashes. Fortuna all over Velasquez. Velasquez desperately wanting to hold on in the final seconds of the round.
Get a knockdown here in that last round, and here's how it gets set up. Underneath, counter shots, right behind the ear. Fortuna gets the knockdown. We'll be back.
Right here we see Fortuna, the shot over the back of the head by Fortuna. It hits him right on the back of the behind the ear, and he didn't see the punch, and that's why he went down.
And those awkward shots by Fortuna, and again, the behind the ear is where your equilibrium is. A lot of times that will cause a knockdown.
Right hooks from the champion as we begin round 3. The only other time that Velasquez had been down was in his own lone loss to Rico Ramos, as Fortuna continues to put the pressure on the challenger. And Fortuna whirling dervish, and it can be wild. He leaves a lot of space in between those punches.
He uses his head a lot too. I mean, I don't know if that busted nose is from a punch or from a head clash, because he comes in right in and he clashes heads a lot.
Well, right now he has total disdain for whatever Velasquez is bringing into this ring, and he seems intent on putting him away this round. Total disdain. Velasquez needs to do something big to turn this around and let Fortuna know that he's here.
Fortuna telling us that normally he doesn't spar much in training, but for this camp he sparred a lot, working on shortening up his punches and throwing them straighter. That hasn't always been the case thus far in this fight, but has been effective through pure aggression.
It reminds me a lot of Nazim Ahmed, because when you have that big punch and you're awkward like that, the opponent always has to be leery of what's going on, because so much is happening, and it's not something that you could duplicate in sparring. You cannot find a sparring partner that does what Fortuna does in sparring. So he's wide open to get it what we call silly punches, and that's just what's happening in this round.
And look at him, he's talking to Velasquez's corner.
And on National Coffee Day, the champion at times appears hyper-caffeinated all over the challenger Velasquez.
He's definitely having a great time. That's what he has coaches say, he's having fun in here. He feels in total control.
Dedicating this fight to his childhood friend, Pignon, who recently passed away, entering this fight with a heavy heart.
And Velasquez got to get himself back together.
He does.
You know, he's throwing one shot at a time, but he's got to get onto the combination punching right now.
He just can't pick up on the awkwardness. Paulie Fortuna is everywhere with punches over the top, punches down under and over. He's showing him a variety of things that's got him completely confused. And Velasquez not possessing that big punch. Doesn't have the equalizer.
Fortuna continuing to deliver punches in bunches. Velasquez feels that Fortuna doesn't think in the ring. He just goes for the knockout. And Velasquez telling us this is the first time he's had a complete camp, the 4th fight in a row under the tutelage of Cuban trainer Roberto Norris here in Las Vegas, his 6th fight overall with Norris.
I like to see Velasquez use some feints in there, because Fortuna already has his hands down. He's looking to make a defensive move and counter. Maybe use some feints in there. See if you can put Fortuna out of position, because his hands are always out of position.
His body is out of position.
Yeah, so maybe feint him somewhere and catch him with something.
He's very instinctive.
There's a feint right there. It's like he heard me. Yeah, it's a match from that last round, and you see more shots from Fortuna. Nice little jab right there on that busted nose. We'll be back after this.
Back here at the Pearl at the Palms in Las Vegas, you're watching championship action in the 130-pound division. There's the challenger, twin dream, Carlos Velasquez.
Mauro, for our viewers, Fortuna is what you call an instinctive fighter. And all fighters have different temperaments, and he fights from an instinctive mental state. So if you even try to put a philosophy in his head, you could really throw him off. Whatever you need from an instinctive fighter, you just simply drill him that way without putting a philosophy behind it, because he's all instinct.
Right hand.
Go. Stop. Let go.
30 seconds gone in the fourth round. Fortuna trained by Hector Bermudez in Boston, their seventh fight together. He was at once trained by Pablo Sarmiento, who used to train longtime 160-pound champion Sergio Martinez. In fact, Fortuna told us that Martinez's steady presence was an important part of Fortuna's development. He credits Maravilla with helping improve his movement in particular.
You can see some of that influence in his style, some of that Sergio Martinez style, influence in Fortuna's own boxing style.
Of course, Martinez recently retiring, and we wish him well in his future endeavors. A tremendous fighter.
And one thing Velasquez can capitalize on, like Paulie said earlier, if he would feint and start using a show-me jab, every time he does feint, Fortuna drops the back leg back even further because he's digging in for a big punch. So if he would feint the first punch and then step in with the second, he'd catch Fortuna right there in that step.
Right hand to the body by Velasquez, his nickname Twin Dream. That's because his twin brother, also a fighter, Juan Carlos Velasquez.
Getting dirty.
Puerto Rico against Dominican Republic here, although both of them train in the United States.
Look at that combination, Virgil. This guy throws the weirdest punches.
It's coming from everywhere, and he cannot figure it out. This guy is everywhere. He just hurt him with
He's a bumblebee. He's buzzing all over Velasquez. And Velasquez has felt the sting as he went down in round two due to the right hook.
And his head is also a third punch. I mean, he headbutts a lot. His head gets in there all the time.
Right now, he's a killer bee.
Go, stop.
And he's having a lot of fun. He's just entertaining himself tonight. He's having a lot of fun. He's full of himself tonight.
Well, and you say full of himself. He made his pro debut with a first-round knockout of Ricardo Johnson back in March 2009 at the fighter meeting. He told us that Johnson was a better opponent than Velasquez.
That's showing respect for your opponent.
Not back there. Not back there.
He's got totally his hands down now.
Come on, suéltalo. Stop.
That's the danger of some fighters thinking the other one doesn't have an IQ, but he has to understand it's instinct sometimes.
Stop.
He's been unorthodox and he's been successful. It's all 130-pound champion Javier Fortuna. According to our unofficial score, Marcos Villegas, Fortuna ahead by 3 points.
Seconds out.
When you talk about adjustments against a guy like Javier Fortuna, who's so hard to figure out his tendencies, his timing, Virgil, what would you be telling Velasquez in that corner?
Well, he's going to have to establish an offense that's going to have to throw Fortuna's awkwardness off. And the way you establish that is you're going to have to put combinations together. Everyone doesn't have to land clean, but you're going to have to make him defensive-minded. If you don't, he's going to stay offensive-minded, and he's just going to have a ball working you out tonight. Right there, he's just standing. He's trying to box him just like he would box any other orthodox fighter, unorthodox fighter, like orthodox, I'm sorry. But it's not going to work. He has to touch him everywhere with speed. He has to mix power into it. He has to keep him off balance. But it's not working
for all of his knockout power. Fortuna has just one KO past the 5th round. That was an 8th round stoppage of Derek Wilson. And we're in the 5th here in Las Vegas. And again, a wrestling match breaks out.
Well, he's a young fighter, and you know, when you step up to the A-Leagues, you don't get knockouts as easy as you did before when you were in the B-Leagues. But by him being a young fighter and going along, if he continues to be successful and winning, you'll start seeing him knock out some of the top guys because he definitely has the punch.
Don't do
See,
that.
Velasquez now is trying to find range. He gets into range but doesn't throw his hands because he's so confused. He's in punching range, but he's holding his hands up by his face because he doesn't know where to throw his hands at, even if he's in range to punch.
And Fortuna keeping his hands down now. Coming forward, straight left to the torso.
Look, Velasquez is in range. Look, he's hesitating.
Unable to cut off the ring and unable to corner the B. Needs a net.
Well, he's bringing a 30-yard 6 up against an AK-47, and he needs to bring a Uzi in there. You know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and that's how you operate under those situations.
Fortuna has created that doubt we talked about earlier. You create that doubt in Velasquez, and clearly Velasquez now has that doubt seeping in his mind.
Because he's so open when he throws, Paulie, if Velasquez would just let combinations go, he would run Fortuna into him without even trying to hit him. He'd run him in the combination. But
Velasquez telling us that Fortuna had never been in the ring with a technical fighter like himself. He said that Fortuna had a lot of flaws that he was going to expose. Well, here, with 35 seconds left in the fifth, he's having trouble exposing anything.
He is.
The problem is Fortuna's flaws are his strengths.
Yes.
Well, his awkwardness is what makes him so effective.
Does everything wrong right.
Stay right here, and we'll bring in our ring announcer Ray Flores doing double duties as interpreter.
Go to the body and then throw a shot. Go to the body, keep going to the body. Stay on the inside.
Okay? Cambia el ritmo de pelea. Tiene que controlar la distancia un poquito más.
Control the distance.
Los codos de están muy arriba. Tú puedes tirar cualquier cosa en la cara y
Whatever you want to throw whatever you want to land and hit him in the face, you can do so.
I was going to say, Virgil, as the bell goes to start round 6, what do you think of the corner instructions?
Well, Fortuna's instructions were right on time. The trainer seems to know what type of fighter he has. He says, whatever you throw and want to land in the face, you just go right ahead and do it. I mean, very simple instructions for an instinctive fighter. He's letting him flow and he's letting him run the race. He doesn't have to put a whip to this horse. Just let him go.
And meanwhile, Paulie, Velasquez corner wants him to go to the body. Easier said than done.
Well, you know what? You maybe aim for the chest, for the shoulders. You know, just see where you can start touching Fortuna here and there, maybe disrupting his movement, disrupting his rhythm. You know, a guy like Fortuna, he's in this whole rhythm. Maybe if you just start touching him here and there, even if you're not touching him cleanly, you can disrupt that rhythm sometimes.
Carlos Velasquez's nose is giving him a lot of problems. They can't seem to stop the bleeding, and every breath he's taking, he's opening up his mouth. So that's an indicator that his nose could be broke, and if it's not broke, it's causing him a lot of problems.
And he can't cut off the ring, the lateral footwork, I mean, just the movement of the bumblebee.
And just the mental frustration, too, will cause fatigue, you know? You don't know what to do next. You're wondering, you're trying.
Constantly pawing at his nose now. They cannot stop that blood. And he's starting to puff up around his right eye. One good shot on that puff with that nose like that, he could close the eye with one good shot.
Fortuna, coming from a family of 9, lost his dad to a heart attack at the age of 54 back in March of 2013. Grew up in a house with a dirt floor, but now married with 3 kids and enjoying his time as a champion, looking to defend the title for the first time here tonight.
Fortuna landed a nice solid uppercut a few seconds back. And again, awkward angle, came in and jumped in with a la Prince. You mentioned the trick before. He came in a la Prince and Hamed there. And, you know, you guys were talking about earlier in the round about the corner of Fortuna and the instructions they gave him. Fortuna's the kind of guy where the wrong trainer will overcoach him. And, you know, so kudos to the corner
Hector Bermudez.
of Fortuna, and then
Yes.
Bermudez, the trainer of Fortuna, because for understanding that this is not a guy you have to give too much instructions to, because you overcoach this guy, you ruin him as a fighter, and a lot of trainers would do that.
Meanwhile, Velasquez trainer Roberto Norris also working with nutritionist and strength coach Angel Memo Heredia.
Okay, let's go. Limpia, limpia.
30 seconds and some showboating now from the southpaw, Fortuna. Velasquez targets the body with the right hand.
And that was good work by Velasquez. He was able to touch the body, he got Fortuna to stop moving, and from there he was able to land a right hand to the head. So that's where it's got to start.
We're halfway through this 12-round championship affair. Fortuna's 130-pound title up for grabs.
Vamos a terminar. Tiene que terminar este muchacho.
You have to finish this guy.
Oíste.
Productor, Mapi. Vamos a uno.
You're doing good. You're doing fine. Relax, relax. Breathe deep.
Carlos, sabes hacer las cosas, papá.
You know how to do things.
No te metas, no te vuelvas loco.
Si este está ganando el round, que tiene que joder con esa mano. Oíste, no podemos perder la pelea por esa mano.
We can't lose this fight for Sept.
Venimos a la pelea controlada, pero si este no quiero que te gane asalto, nada.
You have to be able to control this fight.
Seconds out.
Here at the Pearl at the Palm, Floyd Mayweather and his family in attendance. We see Zach Judah at ringside. And now we begin the second half of this championship battle. And no disrespect to Roberto Norris, but Virgil, you have to stop this guy. I could give that advice.
Well,
How
yeah,
do you
we
stop
all,
this guy?
Well, they know they're far behind, and this fight is getting away from him. And I think he's using it as a motivational ploy, because if he does become intent on stopping him, he'll throw more punches. He's trying to get him to throw more punches. He knows 1 and 2 is not going to do it. And just like Paulie said the last round, when he threw those 3 punches, he didn't land clean, but he landed. So you have to count on 4 and 5 landing in a situation with a guy like this.
Fortuna became a champion earlier this year after a dominant 2014 in which he dismantled all 4 of his opponents, including a 5th-round knockout of Abner Cotto last November, the only time that Fortuna has been down in his career. Of course, back in round 2, Velasquez went down due to a right hook behind the ear.
Now that was a good indicator of where Velasquez's mindset is. Right there he had Fortuna in the corner, and he threw a right, and he tried to get out of the way at the same time he threw the punch. So it's obvious Fortuna's punches are bothering him. He did it again right there. He's not putting himself in position to come back to the second, third, and fourth punch ball.
Because the counters come from the weirdest angles. You don't know where they're coming from. So now you find yourself trying to throw and avoid the counter at the same time.
Yes, and that's not going to do it, and it's going to leave him open.
Trying to leave him open. He's also not going to commit fully enough to his own punch for to do any damage.
There's a left hook by Velasquez.
Jamal, that should have been his second punch. The first one should have been quicker, right hand, then that left hook behind it, and then he would have saw better results.
Fortuna must have been very good in geometry class, Virgil. A lot of angles this guy has. I mean, literally every single angle you can think of.
That's right.
A minute left in the 7th.
This guy's a handful, man.
He is. Well, and if he's in condition, you're going to have a problem.
There's a right hand by Velasquez that popped
and look
the champion on the proboscis.
Look at the psychological ploy. He gives him credit for it. Good punch. Fortuna's looking for a right uppercut.
Wins just 1 draw in the 1-no contest against the 31-year-old Velasquez. 19-1 with 12 wins inside the distance. His lone loss, a knockout against Rico Ramos.
Stop! Knuckle.
We've been talking about the boxing luminaries in attendance here tonight. We've seen Floyd Mayweather. He joined us, of course. Zab Judah stopped by and said hi. And there's Shawn Porter, welterweight with a record of 26-1-1, coming off a big win over Adrian the Problem Broner. Paulie, you and I will be in Cincinnati on Saturday. Broner taking on Alec Verdiev. And I know you don't have fond memories of Shawn Porter, but we won't say too much about that tonight. But what a division and what a career. Congratulations, by the way, Paulie, going back to the native Italia last Saturday and picking up a big win. Good for you.
Thanks, man.
And there's Floyd. He's getting a lot of camera time tonight. Why not? He's one of the promoters. We talk about TG, B10 Goosen Boxing. Dan Goosen, who we lost a year ago today, believe it or not, due to cancer, just 64 years of age, and still find it hard to believe that the boxing world is minus Dan Goosen.
Very hard to believe. Dan was a very colorful and a very charismatic man. And I know the boxing game will miss him. He's going to be very difficult to replace.
Round 8.
Fortuna's trying to set up a right uppercut. He's not going to it right away, but he's looking for it with his body motions, but he's staying busy as he's doing that. But his body motion leading over to his right is showing up more frequently, particularly in the last round and the beginning of this round.
Anything Velasquez can do to try to keep Fortuna from chewing up the real estate?
Fight. Very simple.
Yeah, I mean, he gets in range and then doesn't throw his punches.
Right,
and now, Kenny, that's because there's so much doubt that's been created from the way this fight has gone for him that now, you know, he gets into range and still doesn't throw his hands. Look, he traps Fortuna, gets him in range, and then it's Fortuna that gets off first almost every time.
And that's the problem. You can't go to any strategy until you first get him to fight. It's no sense in telling him any strategy until he's willing to show that he's going to fight.
Yep, been unable to exploit that reach advantage. A minute 40 left in the 8th. Fortuna continues to dart in and out. Lateral movement.
So Fortuna is going to be a handful for anybody that deals with him. As long as he's got to use youthful legs. I don't know how long of a career he's going to have, but he's very, very dependent on his legs. But, man, however long they last, though, this guy is a handful to deal with.
And he's got good legs. He's proportioned for the type of fight that he fights. He's physically proportioned for it.
There's already talk about maybe he and Yuri Gambo, the Olympic gold medal winner, former champion, of course, coming up on Saturday as well as part of our doubleheader for the PBC. On Showtime, Paul, we have Pedraza in his first title defense against Edner Cherry.
A solid fight
at this weight class. .45 seconds left in the 8th round.
Like he doesn't even mind falling in. He'll fall in, and you know what? I'll just butt you if I fall in. You know, like he's got an answer for everything. Oh.
Earlier this evening, part of Mayweather Promotions, J. Leon Love was back in action, taking on a last-minute substitution in Marcus the Duke Ellington Upshaw. Wasn't exactly music to Upshaw's ears, though, as Love went to, well, did what he was necessary.
He did. He pounded out a strong unanimous decision. Not much action in the fight. Every round looked like the same dance, but kudos to Love. Another victory and another step towards his goals in boxing.
Improves to 21-1. The 27-year-old who grew up just 15 minutes from Detroit, now a member of Mayweather Promotions here in Las Vegas.
Tell him not to get back here.
Don't hit him back there.
go.
Velasquez is really suffering some damage around his nose and eyes now, Paulie. And the last 30 seconds of the previous round, he seemed almost to give in, start giving in.
Yeah, that frustration starts to set in. Starts to settle in that maybe unless some kind of miracle happens, you're going to come up short tonight, you know?
Yeah.
Kudos for him sticking it out and getting up off the stool every round and get up and keep trying in each and every round. Being a pro about the whole thing.
Maybe a little too patient. He said he was working on his patience. He needs to start pulling that trigger. But I know it's easier said than done against a tricky southpaw like Javier Fortuna.
You see right there, Fortuna's got him so bluffed and buffaloed, he's scared to pull the trigger.
Well, swings widely and
No knockdown.
could have hurt himself there.
Over there.
That's a bit of fatigue, too.
Swing and a miss.
I think Fortuna senses that he's really slowing down, and he might start looking to sit down on some of his punches and get Velasquez out of there.
There's Jonathan Papelbon and Bryce Harper when you need them, Paulie. Coming up on 1.5 minutes left in the ninth. Continues to be Javier Fortuna dictating the pace, the space, and the terms of his first title defense, and now putting the leather on the body of Velasquez. Game Velasquez along the ropes, encouraging Fortuna to bring it, and he's bringing it. Fortuna looking for his first stoppage past the 8th round. 20 of his 28 victories have come inside the distance. Right hook lands. Under 1 minute left in the ninth.
Velasquez is starting to give ground now, so he's feeling the effects of this fight. We could have a stoppage before the next round is over. I'm not going to predict it, but it's showing up.
As a trainer, Virgil, obviously you're the man to ask you. You feel that you would be in that position with this kind of action continuing?
Well, if I was in Velasquez's corner, when he came back to the corner, I would simply tell him, one more round like this and I'm stopping this fight. You have to think about his safety. And he's taking a lot of punishment right now. Even though he's fighting back, that's what fighters do. But you have to think about his safety. This is his career. He does have some more time left in his career if you spare him from something.
Although, like you said, at 31, this may be his one and only shot at a championship. And time ticks away as Fortuna continues to unload on Velasquez. And the referee, Russell Mora, looking intently.
Are we going to 10? Are we going to 10?
Okay.
You have to unleash your hands, and then you have to respond. We're fine. Are you listening to me? Move your legs. Use your legs. We can't leave the fight to go to the final round.
Seconds out. Seconds out.
According to our interpreter, Ray Flores, the first question, they asked him, you want to go to 10? I don't know if that's the question that he should be answering.
Unfortunately, he has a real brave corner. I would be surprised if he got through this round.
And all through this fight, he'll show you the mean streak that Fortuna has. Fortuna will land the shot, or something will happen, and then he'll look back at Velasquez's corner.
Just unleashing all kinds of
fighters.
You're right, he's taunting them, and now he's just dominating Velasquez, and referee Mora may be considering stopping it.
Well, I would look for the ref to stop it now. He's defenseless. He's helpless. So why let him take this?
And there it is.
Good call.
And a somersault to boot as Javier Fortuna successfully defends the secondary 130-pound championship that he won back in May. He stops Carlos Velasquez, improves to 29-0-1 with one no contest, recording his 21st victory inside the distance, much to the delight of one of the co-promoters here tonight, Floyd Mayweather. So Fortuna dominates Velasquez. And you look at the landscape, we talk about Yokas Gamboa, of course. The man at 130 is Takeshi Uchiyama of Japan, Paulie, and he's going to be tough for anybody, and you wonder about the stylistic matchup.
Yeah, I mean, there's some pretty good fights starting to shape up at that weight class.
So when we come back, we will make it official. A great night of action here at the Pearl at the Palms as Javier Fortuna dominates Carlos Velasquez en route to a stoppage. All right, you crazy Canucks, now it's time for the Punch Stats brought to you by Applebee's Original All-In Burgers. And look at the whitewash here. Fortuna landing 168 compared to just 51 for Velasquez.
Just a huge disparity in the landing count. And he also outthrew him, and his connect percentage was high. It was really a whitewash. The bumblebee pollinated every flower he touched tonight.
All right, with the official announcement, here is Ray Flores.
Ladies and gentlemen, the end comes at 35 seconds of the 10th round. A referee in charge, Russell Mora, waves off the bout for your winner by technical knockout and still Super Featherweight Champion, Javier El Abejon Fortuna.
All right, let's go up to Paulie Malignaggi, who's standing by with the champion.
All right, we're here with the winner, Javier Fortuna. Estamos así con el ganador, Javier Fortuna. I want to ask you, first of all, how did you learn to fight that way? You have a very awkward particular style.
¿Cómo aprendiste a pelear como este estilo que tienes?
Ese estilo yo lo aprendí, tenía de amateur, pero lo vine revolucionando el campamento de Sergio La Maravilla Martínez, y luego de ahí me fui destacando más junto con mi entrenador Héctor Bermúdez, que me ha llevado y me ha enseñado muchísimas cosas nuevas ahora mismo en el boxeo, y por eso todo el tiempo he estado así en mis posiciones.
I've had this style ever since I was an amateur, but I went ahead and I learned more in terms of how to be aggressive under the tutelage of Sergio Martinez. And then with my trainer Bermudez, he went ahead and just continued to urge me to press the action. And, you know, this is something that I've employed during the course of my professional career.
Every time you landed a good combination or did something good in the fight, you kept looking back at his corner. What were you doing? What were you saying? Were you trying to send a message to them?
¿Qué estabas haciendo cuando tiraste y estás viendo en la esquina de Velasquez? ¿Querías hacer algo o decir algo a ellos cuando estaban castigando a él?
Sí, yo estaba filtrando, mirando, como que ellos me miraban y yo decía a ellos que soy un guerrero, que vamos a pelear, que no le quiten los guantes, que son 2 asaltos, hasta que no suene la última campana o uno de los dos caiga y no se levante más, hasta ahí dejamos de pelear.
He said I went ahead and as I was hurting him, I looked over at their corner and I wanted them to understand that I could go the full 12 rounds and I'm not going to stop until the final bell rang.
Congratulations, champ.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias a ustedes por tener mi presencia activa en el ring.
So Javier Fortuna, successful in his first title defense, stopping Carlos Velasquez, dedicating the fight to his childhood friend, Pino, who recently passed away. For Paulie Malignaggi and Virgil Hunter, this is Mauro Ranallo thanking you for watching Premier Boxing Champions on FS1. Time to head back to Los Angeles for Fox Sports Live with Jay Onright and Dan O'Toole.